Hi,
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. I'm sorry about if you feel rushed for tonight. I feel bad about
Oh
that.
no, no problem at all. I was just trying to get out of there. Normally we're out at 7:30, and tonight it's so many people in the stores. It's been absolutely insane.
Oh no. Or is it because you guys have just reopened or?
Well, we stayed open the whole time, but our amount of people that were allowed to be in the store lifted,
Oh,
and
okay.
the only thing they're really doing is just being mandatory that you wear masks. But
Hmm.
the curbside pickup, where you can order online and then we just bring it out to you, that's what's been really, really swamping us. It's been absolutely horrible.
Oh
So
wow.
many orders.
And you're in the States?
Yes, I'm in Mississippi.
Oh, okay, cool. Because we haven't had any of the restrictions lifted here yet. So it's like kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting in that some states are opening and some are not. And so I never really know where
Yeah.
everybody is and what they're.
Mississippi's been pretty lax about their regulations. Our governor is just like, let's go with the flow. And I quarantined for a little while, over a month. And then they called me back and said that they really needed me. So I was like, well, I need money.
So we wanted to chat tonight about because we were talking about your pattern that you had released last fall that had gone viral, and we wanted to talk about kind of what your experience was, and also to introduce yourself to the people watching and how you got started in crochet design.
Yeah, definitely. Hi, everybody. My name is Angelia. Most people know me as Angie. I used to be Angie's Crocheting Corner, but I did a rebrand this year, and now I'm Slip Stitchery, which I absolutely, really, really love. I had a great designer that redid my logo and everything, so I was really thrilled about that. And I think the change in the logo has really helped propel me out there. But let's see. Last year, I came up with a whimsical pumpkin pattern where my stems are really curly, and everybody just went insane over them. I had a whole bunch of different testers make them, and a whole bunch of different. Sorry, wait a second. I had to
That's okay.
decline that call. Uh, make different colors, and it was so neat to see how everybody created their own, with the shapes and everything that they did in the colors, because some of them were more like, real Halloween and everything, and then others were actually really decorative, and they kept them up all through Thanksgiving and everything. And I wasn't really expecting it to take off, but next thing I know, one of the things that I really look for whenever I release a pattern is if it hits Ravelry's Hot Right Now list. And so that's what I always strive for every time I release a pattern. And next thing I knew, it was on the front page. I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And then there's this really popular group on Facebook called Crochet Crazy that shared it. And if you go through and you find that on Facebook, you'll see that they have hundreds of thousands of followers, and that's really a go-to place that a lot of people get their crochet patterns from. And they shared it, and I was like, oh my god! It was absolutely fantastic. It is an experience whenever you're just, I can still consider myself small fry. I only have like 20 patterns that I've ever published. And I
Hmm.
try hard, but I work so much, and it's hard for me to really get what I want to create out there.
Yeah.
But this pattern, the pumpkin pattern that went viral, just absolutely blew my mind.
Well, I remember like shortly after it was published, because like we belong to a lot of the same groups, and there was a period of time where it's like every time you signed on to Facebook or even Instagram, I was seeing your pumpkins, and they're absolutely gorgeous. And
Thank
so
you.
it was like one of those things. It was like, wow, like this girl has really gotten onto something and created something that people are going crazy for. And seeing the different versions was incredible
Yes.
because I remember seeing one that was like super Halloweeny, and then somebody commented on it and made it more like a rustic decor thing instead of like a Halloween.
Yes.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, now I need this pattern. It is so cute. And I just
Yes.
remember it being everywhere.
And that's like one of the things now. Whenever I do my pattern testing, I pretty much give my pattern testers free range of what they want to do, as long as they follow the pattern for the most part.
Yeah.
Especially like the shape and everything. As long as they've got the shape, they can do whatever colors they want. They can do whatever face they want. As long as I get at least one tester to do exactly what I did. But and then whenever I publish the pattern, I go on Ravelry and I make sure that I put the tester photos that, hey, this is somebody else that made this specific one. But I think that really helps as far as getting a pattern to go viral, is if you can have other people make it and make different versions, so that way it inspires others to be able to come up with their own ideas based off of my pattern.
Yeah, definitely. And like there's a lot to be said about, I think it's called social proof.
Yes,
And that's exactly what you're doing is having these testers show their different versions and essentially giving proof that this is a viable pattern, it's an adjustable pattern, and it's a good pattern. And the more people you have doing that, the more people are like, oh man, look how many people are doing this. I need to jump on that bandwagon. I need to do it too. And that's like exactly what happened
exactly.
with your amazing pumpkin is everyone's just like, look at this. And everyone
Yes,
had to get one, right? It was great.
yes, it was. It was fantastic.
Now, were you like shocked about how it all played out? Because I feel like it just happened. I mean, again, I'm from the outside,
It
but it seems
did.
like it happened overnight.
Yeah, in 24 hours that was it. And I was not expecting it at the time. Like, I was like, man, because every time I create a pattern, I'm like, oh man, they're gonna really like this. And then you release it and then it kind of flops and you're like, well, it's still a good pattern. But this one, I was like, oh no, oh my gosh. Like, I just kept progressing, and I can't contain myself. When I get excited, I get really, really excited. And I kept telling my husband, I'm like, baby, look at this. They love me. It was nice though. It was an experience, and I really hope that anybody that publishes a pattern or like tries to do this as a career at least gets to experience it at least once. And that's why I like to try to promote other people's patterns, because we're all in this together. If we don't support each other, there's no way that any of us are ever going to make it.
Well, yeah, and I'm the same way. It's just like people come to me with questions, or if they have something that they want me to share, I'm happy to do that because, there's a lot like people are like, well, that's your competition. I'm like, well, I don't really see it that way. It's like, you
No,
know,
definitely not.
like we make different things and we all have our own spin on the same like stitches, right? We just form them into different things.
Exactly.
And I think that we'll all lift each other up eventually, right? So I'm a
Exactly.
big advocate of community over competition. And I think that's great that you're also that way because um, you know, there are some people who say, yeah, that's the way I do it, but that's not really like how they behave. And I know
Oh
I've
yeah.
seen you sharing some stuff and it's great.
Yeah, definitely. My husband used to ask me, he's like, baby, why are you going to give your pattern away? I'm like, because I'm one person. I can't make all this by myself. I'm like, how would that make me seem if I just kept every single little thing to myself? It's just not possible, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing is too, is there's so many crocheters out there, myself included, I can look at a picture and I can replicate it.
Yeah.
No problem. But I'm going to go and I'm going to support that person that created that pattern, because that's what I want done to me. I try to practice good karma at all times, especially in the crochet community, because you never know. There's so many people out there that are relying on the little bit of money that we make off of patterns
Yeah.
that, I mean, really, really need that money. And they're just not saying it, because they don't want to put their business out there. But I can tell you, every time that I buy a pattern from somebody, I know that they're like, a little smile pops up on their face, because they're like, oh yes, somebody, supported me today.
Well, yeah, and there's so many ways you can support other makers without even spending a cent, right? And that's what I keep trying to tell other people. It's like if you don't want to buy the pattern and you can't buy the pattern, that's totally fine. Pin it to Pinterest, give them a heart on Ravelry. That's where all that social proof comes back into play again. It's like the more likes that something has, the more likes it's going to get. And
Exactly.
there are so many ways to support another maker without spending a dime and helping somebody out, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's
And then
really great.
even like for the people that want to support us but sometimes can't, I can't tell you how many people I give codes to just have a pattern for free.
Yeah.
Because I can understand really wanting to make something but just really not having it in your budget. And people are like, "Well, what do you mean you can't spend $2.50 or $5 or $1?" I'm like, "Sometimes, guys, people don't have it in their budget. They are on something strict,
Yeah.
and I mean it might seem small to y'all, but if they have the yarn already and they really want to make it, heck yeah. And especially like if they've liked my page and I've seen them share my stuff before, totally.
Yeah. Well, and that was a big push for me as well as like making my patterns free is that, I want to try and make my stuff accessible for everybody because I know that, there are times where you really just can't fit it into the budget. And if I can give them a free version, I want to be able to do that as much as possible because ultimately, I have the means to do that right now. And if I can help even one person, make something that makes them happy and it doesn't cost them anything extra, then then I've done my job, right? So,
Yeah,
and
definitely for sure.
and sometimes it's just so important that people take that step back and look at it from a different perspective because I've definitely seen those comments where it's like, what do you mean you can't afford 250 or $5? It's like, well, you don't know, that person's situation. You
Yeah,
can walk in their shoes, right? So,
exactly. Yep.
and so what got you started in crochet design?
Oh wow. I used to have seizures really, really bad, and I started having them whenever I was 18, and it pretty much blew up everything, all my plans for life and all that jazz. But anyways, in 2016, I was having so many seizures at the job that I was working at. I was working at a call center. It was terrible anyway. And I decided that Christmas to make a mermaid tail, and somebody locally bought it. And then that Christmas, I made like $500 on eBay. And in January, of 2016, I decided to quit that job that I really hated because I mean, I couldn't half work it to begin with anyway. Um, and I decided to do crochet full time. And then my Etsy took off with physical orders. And that's pretty much how I supported myself from 2016 until I think it was sometime last year when I decided to get the job at Michael's. And I think crochet really had a lot of effect on me and my seizures not being so bad, and I was able to actually calm down a lot and uh, just really focus on my health. And so now I don't have hardly any anymore.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, it was just the physical orders that really made it to where I was able to really support myself. I want to say it was the year before last, I made like $17,000, or that was the gross, which is an
Wow.
insane amount.
Yeah.
And then I just got so burnt out on it because I mean, doing that much, you're gonna get burned out. I was like, got to get onto some type of residual income. So that's when I decided, okay, I'm gonna try to pattern design. And I don't have as many designs as I would like to. There's one, I don't know if you know her, Be Crochetive Designs, Brittany
Yes, yes,
Weidenfeller.
Brittany, love
I love
her.
her. Let me tell you, when she's working, she cranks them out like every single
I
week.
know.
She's goals. I'm like, I wish I could do that, but I just don't have the time. But basically, what it is residual income is now the goal. And then now that I just got a manager position here at Michael's, I'm going to have to stop doing all physical orders because I just don't have time to do it no more. So hopefully that will give me more time now to do just my crochet patterns. But we'll have to just see how it goes. But that's how it got started, was just I was sick and I needed something to be able to do. And there's so many people on Etsy that are the same way. They cannot support themselves, and it's really hard to get disability in the United States. If you have to have everything just perfectly laid out for them, and I didn't qualify, and I just had to be able to support myself, and that's what I was able to do.
Well, that's awesome that you're able to find that and take off so quickly. Like
Oh yeah.
so many people don't really believe that you can actually make real money crocheting or even just selling your finished items or selling your patterns. you know, and it's nice to hear that there are people that are doing that and have been capable of doing that, right? That's awesome.
Oh yeah. And like I mean the first year was hard, but I mean this when the second year came, that's when everything like really started rolling. And you have to dive in. You have to dive into SEO, which is search engine optimization. You have
Yeah,
to dive in to doing your own photography and making sure that your products look good, because if your pictures don't look good, people aren't going to want it.
right.
And that's the same thing with crochet patterns. You've got to make sure that your crochet pattern display picture is something really nice and something that's attractive, or else people aren't going to want to buy it.
Yeah.
And that's just how things have gotten. We've gotten so bad into everything. Every little thing has to be perfect, photo wise, which sucks, in a sense, but because sometimes it's hard. Like you have an idea in your head of what you want your pattern display to be like, and you just can't get it to be that way unless you're like a professional photographer, and not everybody is these days. I dropped you.
But yeah, the photo thing is really hard. And that, like, when I first started, my photos were like dingy and dark, and I was just like, I thought they were okay, didn't see. But once I started taking better pictures, it gave me more confidence because I was like, wow, people are reacting to these better. And it really
Yes.
makes a huge difference. And, you know, if you can figure that out like early on, then, you know, you're gold, right? Because some like
Exactly.
me, it takes you a while to catch on to that.
Yeah. And
Or
I
to
mean,
learn.
it's not so hard. Like the basic things that I would say, advice I would give to anybody who wants to take good pictures: do flat lays,
Yeah.
get a designer board, like poster board for your background. And even if it's just that poster background by itself and your whatever your product is, at least it's nice and clean and the background is good. And take pictures in the shade outside. That way you have natural light. Those are like the three best advices that I could give to anybody that wants to take at least some type of decent picture of their crochet work.
Absolutely. It's like when I get people who send me messages and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like how do you get your background so white?" And I'm like, "I take pictures outside and it's a 50-cent poster board I got from the dollar store." And they're just like, "No."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, seriously." I brighten it a
Mm-hmm.
little bit in Instagram, gosh, uh, Photoshop. I whiten it a little bit because I mean, ultimately, you can't make it perfectly white on its own, but you can get
Yeah,
really close, right? And it's like,
you can.
yeah,
And there are some photo editors out there that are specifically for making your backgrounds wider. And that's
yeah,
just something that, every person has to dive into themselves and play around with a little bit. But
yeah.
one of the things I use a lot is Instagram photo editing. I
Oh,
use Instagram photo editing so much because you can select a filter, but then you can go back in and change whatever you want to change still. And that's how I get a lot of my pictures to look decent.
that's awesome. Didn't even know that was a thing.
Yep.
I had an app for the longest time where I could like whiten the background by like dragging my finger over the background where the dark spots were. I forget what it was called, but um, my husband has thankfully taken over that part for me.
That's so funny because my husband is the tech editor in my life. He knows all about photo editing, and he's just somebody that can pretty much do anything with a computer. And I started doing a few YouTube videos, and we had to buy some licensed software to be able to edit the videos. And he just jumps on there and he's like, well, let's do this and let's do this. And I'm like, whoa, we got to slow down so I can learn how to do this.
That's me with my husband. He's a programmer and he does like the video editing and everything for me. And he's like, okay, you just like click this, click this, click this. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Like one more time.
You gotta stop and drag this down to your thing and then zoom in and make sure that your layovers and everything are correct, and you gotta put in a fade through here. And I'm like, okay, love, whatever you
Yeah,
say.
it looks beautiful. Please keep doing that.
Yes.
So I know that you're in your car, so I don't know if you still want to play our game or not, because you probably want to get home. But I'm happy to play the game if you're still comfortable holding the phone.
I think I'm actually going to get off of here because my husband's messaging me. He's like, "Where are you at?" But I had so much fun, and we can totally do a game another night if you want to. I'm totally up for that. I'm supposed to be off all day tomorrow, so if you have it in your schedule and you want to do it, just message me, and we can totally get back on.
All right, sounds good.
I had so much fun. Thank you so much for interviewing me. I really, really appreciate it.
It was so nice to chat with you. Thanks so much again for joining me.
All right, bye.
Have a good night. Bye.